This is Team Gail in our presentation on the ISO 9000. The International Organization for Standardization, better known as ISO, is a non-governmental organization that strives to develop a link between public and private sectors. ISO was developed in 1947 and has since had the General Secretariat in Geneva, Switzerland. It is the world's largest network constituted by 163 countries, each represented by one individual, working on issues to create and promote the international exchange of goods and services. The general importance of ISO is to provide both businesses and society with an organization that can develop solutions and meet the requirements of both the businesses as well as the needs of society as a whole. In general, ISO consists of the General Assembly, which is the highest authority. There are then 4 major policy committees that members are able to participate in or observe. These include the Committee on Conformity Assessment, the Consumer Policy Committee, the Committee on Developing Country Matters, and the Committee on Information Systems and Services. There is also the ISO Council, who sets the Central Secretariat's annual budget, the Technical Management Board, who oversees operations of the ISO Technical Committees, as well as 2 information networks. The idea of ISO can be traced back from the U.S. during World War II, where the concept of quality assurance spread into Europe from the North American Treaty Organization and developed into the Allied Quality Assurance publication. The AQAP series was then adopted by the UK Ministry of Defence for the British Armed Forces. A main concern was the differences between the series and the diversity of requirements for different organizations. This concern was brought to attention and addressed by the British standard BS 5750, which focused on the AQAP series and was introduced in 1979. The BS 5750 was so effective that it became adopted by the ISO Technical Committee 176 in 1987. It better became known as ISO 9000, a set of standards for quality assurance and management. This series of standards apply to all types and sizes of manufacturing and service companies and covers almost everything in a company's business. However, the main focuses of the standards are on the processes, procedures, and practices. The ISO 9000 series became widely accepted after the formation of the European Union and has since been revised in 1994 and extensively revised in 2000, 2008, and 2010. The purpose of the ISO 9000 is to define the quality management system requirements. The concepts are explained by the principles used in the family of international quality management. The ISO 9001 provides an equitable basis for assessing the capability of organizations to meet customer and applicable regulatory requirements. The purpose of the ISO 9004 is to manage the sustained success of an organization. The ISO 9000 requires to look at the big picture. Once this is done, the organization has audits it must pass. There are 3 types of audits. The first audit is an internal audit that is recommended by the ISO 9000. The second audit allows for a consumer to evaluate the performance of an organization. The last audit is an independent certification company that evaluates the organization and evaluates it in the terms of the ISO 9000 guidelines. An organization gets certified if it meets the requirements of the standard and carries a seal of quality recognized throughout the world. There are 8 principles of quality management. These include customer focus, leadership, process approach, system approach to management, continual improvement, factual approach to making decisions, and mutually beneficial supplier relationships. These principles provide guidelines for senior management to improve their organization's performance. Principle 1, customer focus, is where organizations need to research and understand customer needs and expectations, ensure the organization's objectives are linked to those needs and expectations, and communicate them throughout the company. They also need to measure customer satisfaction and act on those results. Principle 2, leadership, is where leadership within an organization needs to consider the interests of all parties, including customer, owners, employers, and others. They also should establish a clear vision as well as challenging goals and targets while encouraging and recognizing people's contributions. Involvement of people, Principle 3, is to ensure employees understand the importance of their contribution and their role in the organization, as well as being able to take ownership of problems and be able to openly discuss these problems and other issues. Principle 4, process approach, is defining activities necessary to obtain desired results and establishing clear responsibility and accountability for managing these activities. Evaluating risks, consequences, and impacts of activities on customers, suppliers, and other interested parties. The system approach to management, Principle 5, is structuring a system to achieve the organization's objectives in the most effective and efficient way and understand the interdependencies between the processes of the system, as well as targeting and defining how specific activities within a system should operate while continually improving the system through measurement and evaluation. Principle 6, continual improvement, is to employ a consistent organization-wide approach to continual improvement of the organization's performance and providing people with training in the methods and tools of continual improvement and establish goals to guide and measures to track the improvement. Principle 7, factual approach to making decisions, is ensuring that data and information are sufficiently accurate and reliable and making the data accessible to those who need it, as well as analyzing data and information using valid methods and making decisions and taking action based on factual analysis. The last principle, Principle 8, is mutually beneficial supplier relationships, where establishing relationships that balance short-term gains with long-term considerations, as well as pooling expertise and resources with partners, identifying and selecting key suppliers, having clear and open communications, and establishing joint development and improvement activities. There are 12 major processes that must be described in an ISO 9000 plan. These include quality management, resource management, training and awareness, product purchasing, design and development, production management, service provision, product management, customer relationship management, internal quality management audit, monitoring and measuring, and management review. There are 9 steps that must be explained for each of the processes. This includes development, documentation, implementation, maintaining, monitoring, measuring, analyzing, controlling, and improving. Companies have criticized ISO 9000 for requiring a lot of time, money, and effort in order to comply with its popular management standards. They speculate why they even spend their resources to upgrade the program and acquire the certification, which can be predominantly difficult on industrial companies. John Huey learned just how intricate the process was when he directed the ISO documentation for the Division of Delaware North Company that manages visitor services in tourist spots like Yosemite and Sequoia National Parks. First, Huey drafted an environmental management strategy. Secondly, he documented the company's environmental impacts, tracking water use, energy use, and food recycling. Finally, he devised a plan to reduce waste, researched authorized necessities for pollution and contracts, trained employees, brought in a consultant to prepare for the compliance audit, and conducted his own first-round audit. The certification probably helped Delaware North win some contracts and certainly polished its environmental principles. Employee morale also rose as workers took pride in their newfound status as a qualified environmental responsive operation. For concrete financial rewards, however, there has been no increase in sales, says Huey. Below are references that we found for our project on ISO 9000. And the following is how we split up our group contribution to the project.